So what if the fundamental law of cause and effect, what we call karma, isn't actually the whole story? Today we're diving into a really powerful idea from the architecture of grace. This concept that suggests there's a higher law at play, one that can operate completely outside the rules we all thought were unbreakable. Let's get right into it.
Our source material really doesn't pull any punches, right? It kicks things off with this statement. Just let that sink in for a second. Every spiritual law we rely on, karma, attraction, all of them, is described as being part of an illusion. I mean, that immediately makes you wonder, if our reality is some kind of simulation, what are its rules, and is there a way to peek behind the curtain?
All right, so let's start with what our source calls an unsettling idea. This notion that the very rules of our reality might not be what they appear to be.
Now, this isn't saying that karma is fake or that it doesn't exist, not at all. It's actually proposing that karma is a core part of the physics within this perceived reality. Think of it like gravity in a video game. Inside that game, gravity is a real and consistent rule. So the real question isn't about the rule itself, but about the nature of the game we're all playing.
Okay, so if we're in a game, what's it called? The source material actually gives it a name, a concept from ancient philosophy used to describe this grand illusion. So let's dive into Section 2, Decoding the Matrix, by getting a handle on this concept of Maya.
And there's the term Maya. It's defined here as the cosmic illusion that shapes our reality. The operating system analogy works perfectly. It's like the background code that renders everything we see and interact with, and it's got its own fundamental logic hardwired right in.
So how does this operating system even work? Well, according to the source, Maya is built on 3 fundamental pillars that basically define our entire experience. First, you've got time, which creates that flow of past, present, and future. Then there's space, the 3D world we all live in. And crucially, there's causality, the law of cause and effect. And that is the pillar that governs karma. So you put those 3 together, time, space, and causality, and they create the very fabric of the reality we perceive. They are the game board and its rules. Our struggles, our wins, even our sense of free will, it all plays out within the boundaries of this self-contained, totally logical system.
But, this brings up a huge question. If we're inside a system, can anything exist outside of it? Is there a law that can operate beyond Maya's rules? And that brings us to Section 3, the law outside the law.
So here's the framework that's laid out. Inside this system, Maya, you have all the laws you know, karma, attraction, and so on. Their one defining feature, they're all bound by cause and effect. You do something, you get a result. Simple. But outside Maya, there's a question mark. The possibility for something totally unbound by that logic. So what could possibly operate beyond the system that governs literally everything we know? The source answers that question with another, even bigger one. What if the creator of the game isn't bound by its own rules? I mean, a programmer who designs a simulation isn't subject to the physics inside that simulation, right? And that simple idea, that's the key that unlocks the door between what we know and what's possible.
So it's finally time to fill in that question mark. The source gives this ultimate unbound principle a name. And this brings us to Section 4, Introducing the Law of Grace.
So what exactly is grace? Well, it's defined as a divine unconditional intervention. And the key words here are that it's not dependent on cause and effect. It's not a reward for good behavior. It's a force that operates completely outside the pillars of Maya, outside of time, space, and causality itself.
And here's the crucial point. Grace is presented as the direct action of the Creator. And since the Creator has to exist outside of its own creation, grace is the one and only force that can operate independently of Maya's rules. It's basically the ultimate override for the system's physics.
Okay, so this is a really fascinating philosophical idea. But what does it actually mean for us in our daily lives? Well, this final section, From Karma to Grace, is all about the shift in awareness this idea can create.
So this isn't about learning a new technique or anything. It's about a shift in perspective. First, you just recognize the system, acknowledging that you're operating within the framework of Maya. Second, you start to reframe its rules, seeing karma less as some cosmic judgment and more like simple physics. And third, you shift your awareness to try and access something beyond those rules, the possibility of grace.
And just to be super clear, this isn't about trying to ignore karma or pretend it doesn't exist. We're still in the game, so the rules still apply. It's about recognizing that there's another, more fundamental power in play, one that operates beyond the simple, predictable logic of cause and effect.
So I'll leave you with this question to really chew on. If karma is just the predictable physics of this illusion we're in, what becomes possible when you open yourself up to a power that exists completely outside that system? What could you create by aligning with the unconditional, unbound power of grace? Thanks for exploring this.